Hey there, Dr. Charlene here, Recovery Blueprint. Today, I want to talk about gluten sensitivity and if you have Hashimoto's and you don't test positive for gluten sensitivity, if you can keep eating the gluten. Gluten sensitivity testing or all food sensitivity allergy type testing isn't perfect. I don't know if it will ever be perfect, and just know that the technology is improving all of the time. So maybe it will eventually be perfect, but for now, it's not. So I know for my Hashi people, I recommend that all people with Hashimoto's remove gluten from their diet. And I do get some pushback on this where people say, well, Dr. Charlene, I've had gluten sensitivity testing done and it didn't come back positive for me. So I'm still eating the gluten. And here's a couple of things that's going on. So one, the testing just isn't perfect. And two, we have 4 types of immunoglobulins. It's a type of immune response that kicks off in our system to manage a foreign invader. And these 4 types that are dealing with food sensitivities are called immunoglobulins, and we have IgA, IgE, IgG, and IgM. Now, that second one I mentioned, IgE, this is a full-on allergic anaphylactic type response. People who are allergic to peanuts and have to carry an EpiPen have an IgE response to peanuts. A lot of the food sensitivity testing out there may be only testing for the other 3 or less. So here's an example of myself. I did food sensitivity testing many years ago, and it tested, I'm pretty sure, IgG and IgM. So 2 of the other 3. I had already ruled out the IgE. I went to my doctor. They did the skin prick test on my skin. I did not react with an IgE response, so it's not going to kill me. So I did further testing, and it tested IgG and IgM. But it didn't test that 3rd type. And it didn't come back positive for me. So I was like, I guess gluten's okay. Even though I knew every time I ate bread or pasta or cookies or cakes or whatever had gluten in it, I got super bloated. I looked 6 months pregnant and I got brain fog. And then I did some further testing where it tested 26 or 28 different constituents of the gluten protein. So it was like gliadin and gluten and all these other things. And 1 came back positive for me. And it happened to affect brain tissue. So that explains the brain fog that I get. So from then on, I was like, well, I'm not willing to play around with my brain. So I went ahead and just removed gluten. More recently, I got newer food sensitivity testing done, and it did check those 3 different types of immunoglobulins, IgA, IgG, and IgM. And guess what? They all popped positive for me, all of them. So a couple things can be happening. The test that you're doing might not be the greatest available. It's not perfect, and it may never be. And they might not be testing all of these different pieces to it. And you can be not sensitive at one point in your life and then become sensitive later on. Because every time you get an attack of gluten or something, it's like scratching the back of your hand. And at the start, I'm not pressing very hard, but at the start, it's not going to bother me. But the more I do it, if I just keep going in that same spot, it's going to turn red. It's going to turn painful. It might develop an infection. That's the same thing that's occurring when you continue to put these foods that you're sensitive to into your body. At first, you're not going to have a very powerful reaction, but eventually the body's going to get a little pissed off and it's going to react powerfully. So I do recommend, even if you have food sensitivity testing that shows you are not sensitive to gluten, I still recommend for my Hashi people to avoid it because it is very similar to thyroid tissue. So if your body's not processing and breaking your food down properly, the body might see that this gluten protein looks similar to the same protein that makes up your thyroid tissue. And now, instead of just having an attack on your thyroid, you're also getting an attack on your gut. And that's when multiple autoimmune conditions start to arise. So I'm sorry to say that I want you to eliminate bread and pasta and all the gluten-y things from your life. Give me 3 months. Give it a try. See how you do. And if you need help, go check my video on what happens if I eliminate gluten and I don't notice a change. So head on over to that video. And if you're interested in working with me or want to learn more, it is free for a limited guest period to join my online healing and support group. You can find that at charlenelawrence.com, and that is my recovery blueprint group. All right, as always, be well.